So we're almost halfway there with the spooky season movies. Woo! So this video I'm going to be talking about movies beginning with K, L, M, N, and O. So the first movie I'm going to be talking about, I only just watched for the first time recently. I'm actually a little disappointed that I'd never heard about it before or even seen it before, because it's such a fantastic movie and it stars Brad Pitt, who I absolutely adore. So this movie is called California. So this came out in 1993. I was 2 when it came out, so it makes sense that I didn't see it back then. But how have I not heard or seen of it over the years? So the director is Dominic Casina, and he actually did Gone in 60 Seconds, which is another movie I really love. So I'm very surprised it went under the radar for me. The cast is made up of Brad Pitt, Julia Lewis, David Duchovny, I'm really horrible with names, and Michelle Forbes. They are all fantastic in this movie. They just have such wonderful chemistry as this group. Their kind of awkwardness at first and warming up to each other is so believable. And Brad Pitt is extraordinary considering this is so early in his career. His character is just incredible and so unhinged. Like, it is amazing watching his journey and watching his performance. This is one of my favorite Brad Pitt movies, and I have never heard of it before. So if you have not seen this movie, definitely check it out. There is such an interesting contrast between the two main characters. There is Early, who's played by Brad Pitt. He is so brooding and violent and dark, and just, he is really good at pretending to be someone else. He is charismatic. He knows like what role to play for each person. And then you got Adele, who is his partner, played by Juliette Lewis. She is so gentle and innocent. Like, she doesn't hide it. She is so open like a book. And it is so interesting watching them two interact when they are such very different characters. Everything about them is so different. And if you like Juliette Lewis in her other roles, kind of like Natural Born Killers and just pretty much anything in general that you've seen her in, you will love her in this. She is fantastic at the role she plays. She is really well at seeming like fragile when you also know that she can kick some serious ass. And just already, you know, Brad Pitt's a pretty strong actor, and he has played so many strong characters that have been unhinged, and yet he still blew me away in this movie. The movie goes for almost 2 hours, but this is so decently paced in introducing the characters, in the storyline, how it flows, how they travel together, how they develop the characters and the performances. It's just so well done, and especially for a movie that came out in 93. Obviously, this is a very old movie to most standards, and still just, it's aged great. The movie becomes very gory. It doesn't start super early. There is a little bit gory, but it does become very violent and very gory. And this is all done by the character Early, which again is played by Brad Pitt. And once this starts to happen and they don't bother giving him any redeemable qualities, there is nothing about him that would make the audience side with him, and they don't try to reason of why he's like this. It's just who he is, and they did such a great job at showing him as like no remorse. He is just who he is, and it's just such a fantastic movie that I'm so disappointed that no one has ever spoken to me about before. So if you have not checked out this movie, please check it out, especially if you're a fan of Brad Pitt. You will not be let down. The next movie I'm going to talk about is The Lost Boys. This movie is even older, and I have loved this movie since I was a kid. This movie came out in 1987. I was born in 1991. I grew up watching this movie, which, considering it's about about vampires. I probably shouldn't have been watching it at such a young age, but I just loved it so much. I loved Kiefer Sutherland and Jason Patric and Corey Haim and Feldman. I just loved them. Diane West she's such innocent as their mother. Like, she's just such a beautiful actress. Edward Herrmann, this was the first thing that introduced me to him as an actor. And then when I saw him in Gilmore Girls as their grandfather, I'm like, what? Like, I know you as this vampire guy. Like, what is going on? And then Alex Winter, I adored and loved from Bill and Ted. So I've always associated him with these two movies. So it's probably one of the classic vampire movies. It's not gory. It's not that violent. It just has a great story. It shows the love of family and brothers. Obviously, one of the brothers, Michael, becomes a vampire. And then you have Sam that kind of becomes a hunter. And it just has it's just equal storytelling. So you follow Michael along his journey of becoming a vampire. You follow Sam along on his story to find out more about vampires and their weaknesses and becoming a hunter. And it's just that interesting story. And while Diane West is gorgeous, she's just kind of in the background, just not having any idea what's going on. So it's just like really great kind of balance of story. Completely forgot my words then. Another thing I found interesting was how they foreshadowed about how vampires would die. So Edgar Frog, who's played by Corey Feldman, goes, some vampires will yell, scream, go quietly, explode, implode. And when it comes down to hunting the vampires, they all die in one way that would fit into that category. So I always found that really cool and just very great performances. It's very open about the vampires. It gets straight into it instantly. It doesn't waste time. The characters develop with the storyline. They don't bother giving you the backstory of the characters first. There's very little dialogue by David, which is played by Kiefer Sutherland. You think as one of the main characters he would have a lot of dialogue, but honestly he mainly just says Michael about 100 times. He's fantastic in this movie regardless. It's just kind of his presence that is the standout. If you haven't seen The Lost Boys and you enjoy vampire movies or just classic movies in general, this movie is very 80s. It's one of my all-time favorite movies, and just definitely go check it out if you get the chance. This brings me to my M movie, which is called Maggie. Now, not many people, I feel, have seen this movie. I really enough watched this movie because I won the DVD from a competition EB Games was doing. I was waiting for it to come out in the cinema and it just never came. So I was super happy when I won this DVD because I didn't even know it was coming out on DVD. And it's just such an incredible movie of just the love between a father and daughter. So you have Arnold Schwarzenegger, who actually took no payment at all for this movie, which is incredible. The massive actor he is, the amount he could get paid. Like, he's like, I believe in this story and script so much that I don't want any payment. Like, that is amazing. Like, to believe in a script that much. Abigail Breslin plays his daughter, and she is incredible in this. I talk about her in another movie later on, and she's always been a fantastic actress. Growing up watching her from like Little Miss Sunshine to now, like, she's just always been fantastic, and she just continues. It's just such a great relationship watching them. Maggie is about the zombie apocalypse, but they take a different take. It takes ages for the zombie virus to kick in. So they get infected. It's kind of like getting a terminal illness is how they're representing it. There is medication to treat it, but eventually their body starts decaying. They start craving other food. they start becoming violent, and then they are meant to get sent to quarantine. So it's kind of the relationship of how do you deal with someone knowing that they are going to die? How do you end that relationship? How do you keep that relationship strong knowing there is that timeline? And then, is it right to take your daughter to quarantine, or should you keep her at home? Should you let her run off? Like, it's so many questions, and it just looks at the zombie apocalypse in such a different and unique way. It's just such an emotional experience watching them interact as a father and daughter. They don't really concentrate too much on the horror aspect of zombies. You do come across zombies, but you don't really feel the character is in danger. It's just more of the emotional trauma and impact to the characters, because there is the two zombies that come along was a father and young daughter, and Arnold Schwarzenegger's character comes towards it, and you can see like how he sees them is how he could see him and his daughter, and it's just really hard. And obviously he can't let them be, because they could go and attack someone else. They could come and attack him, and it's really emotional watching him. And if you haven't seen Maggie, I strongly suggest it. Without any spoilers, just the ending is incredible, and yeah, it's just a fantastic movie that's worth checking out. This brings me to my movie N, and I actually hate this movie. So this is The Neon Demon. The very first time I watched this, I didn't really know anything about it. I just knew Keanu Reeves was in it, and basically I'm a sucker for anything Keanu Reeves. I watched the movie not really knowing what to expect, and basically discovered it was about supermodels, which, okay, cool, and just, it was not good. It kind of has this violent undertone to it, which is why I'm including it into the spooky horror reviews. It's not straight in your face horror, but there is a creep factor to every single character. There is this violent undertone in every scene. They really concentrate on the color scheme. There is a lot of pink in a lot of scenes. The performances aren't necessarily good. They're very weird, which is nothing on the cast. They were probably told to perform this way. And there's such a huge cast. There are so many big names, and barely anyone gets a lot of screen time. The thing I found interesting is it's filmed chronologically. So it starts off with Elle Fanning's character. She's kind of young, innocent, coming into this world before it all goes to shit, basically. So it was interesting knowing like they went along with that journey as well while filming, but at the same time, it does not make it any better. The themes doesn't make it better. Every single character is unlikable. The movie just gets super weird and uncomfortable. There are so many people that would actually feel triggered watching this. There is undertones of pedophilia, of rape, of molestation, of kind of the slavery, sexual pressure of women in the supermodel industry. It is not a pleasant movie to watch. I rewatched this movie for the review, and it put me in a worse mood, because even though I already knew what was going to happen, I'm like, why did they think some of these themes were okay, and just why did they get this cast to agree? So it goes for an hour and 57 minutes. It takes an hour and a half to actually get to the gory, violent parts. A lot of it's just build up. A lot of it's just the undertones, and it's just super uncomfortable to watch. I absolutely do not recommend this movie. It's very similar to Only God Forgives and Mandy with the use of color and music. So while the cinematography is interesting and the sound mixing isn't bad, it's an interesting concept. is it better to go watch those two movies. I actually like Mandy, Only for God Forgives. I didn't really enjoy, but there is nothing redeeming about this movie. So if this was on your maybe to watch list, don't watch it. And this brings me to my last movie. So this is called The Others. So this came out in 2001. I watched it for the first time back then. I didn't really have appreciation for the performance that Nicole Kidman gave at the time. I generally watched movies back when I was younger just for the storyline and not performances, just basically for the storyline. I didn't really care too much about performances, and now as I'm older, I really appreciate the work the actor and actress will put into a movie. And Nicole Kidman is fantastic in this. She actually won an award for Best Performance. The movie overall received 51 nominations and 29 wins. So it is a really well-received movie. When I first watched it, I did not care about any of the well-received reviews. I did not care about kind of how other people viewed the movie. I saw the movie as exceptionally boring and long and just very drawn out, like it was too busy trying to impress itself. Now that I'm older, I can definitely appreciate what it was trying to do, and that I could see the subtle hints that I definitely didn't pick up when I was younger. The horror aspect of the film is so very subtle initially. Nicole's character Grace is just super strict, and it's kind of scary towards the kids. So you begin to question her as an audience of, like, maybe the children don't actually have this disease and you're just treating them badly. And then you have the view that Anne and Nicholas are just typical kids, and as the story starts to proceed, it kind of falls more in place and reveals more plot holes about their disease and about their condition. Obviously, you start to question, why doesn't anyone eat? So then when the twist comes, at first viewing, it was incredibly shocking, but obviously I know what's coming now. So the subtle hints of what I knew was coming was even more extraordinary watching it now, when I appreciate the performances and appreciate more of the story and the cinematography and just the subtle hints of either, one, they don't eat, the sun suddenly doesn't hurt them when they are touched by the sun. And then when the father appears, obviously you can tell something's up, but you hear a subtle sound of chains rattling, and Anne makes a reference that when ghosts appear, chains rattle. And I did not pick that up on the first viewing. So it was such interesting just to see the subtlety that was thrown in, and I can definitely appreciate this movie so much more as an adult. So if you watched this movie when you were younger and you're like, oh, this is boring, I don't like the story, maybe give it a second chance, because even though you may know what twist is coming, just picking up on the subtle hints that you may have missed the first time is definitely worth reviewing. So to recap, California is a fantastic movie. I highly recommend checking it out. The Lost Boys is an absolute classic. If you haven't seen it, definitely check it out. Maggie is just a beautifully told movie about father and daughter's relationship with a different aspect on zombie apocalypse. It's just such a beautifully told story that's worth at least one viewing. Just to check it out. Neon Demon, just don't waste your time at all. And The Others, definitely worth revisiting if you've only watched it once. So thanks for watching, and there'll be a few more along. And yeah, thank you. Let me know in the comments what you think of these movies, if you love them, if you hate them, what's your favorite movies beginning with K, L, M, N, and O. So like, comment, subscribe, and see you later.